Hello, this is a demo about changes to the console card in Cockpit's virtual machine support. And I think we have a lot of stuff to cover here, so let's see how long this gets and how confusing and how rambling. So here's a virtual machine that is not running. This is the state when the machine is shut off. This is maybe old news already, but it tells you there is the graphical console, it's VNC, and it has a dynamic port. You can edit this, it has a password even, but this is actually, it's part of a different pull request. And now let's see what happens when we start it, how that looks. So here are the actual changes that I want to show. First is that now the drop-down is gone and has been replaced by toggle buttons. I think they are supposed to be here left aligned. I couldn't get that done quickly, so I guess we figured that out. And you can switch between graphical and serial console. This doesn't say VNC here. Maybe it should say VNC. And anyway, here's the serial console. It also actually is connected to something. And here's the graphical one. This one doesn't do anything because of how this machine is installed. And the first change maybe that I would like to point out is that when you expand this, you stay on the same console type that you were when you were collapsed. And now it tells you where you are. Now you're on the graphical console. And there's no way here anymore to change the type. I think the idea is to have as little UI around this thingy as possible. And we will extend it all the way up and take over the shell navigation and everything. And there will just be a little button to collapse it again. So there will be, this is maybe the first step. So we don't have any switching drop down here anymore, or the toggle buttons. This whole thing could be removed as well. But anyway, so if you go back to this and for example now select the serial console, have some content here and you expand it, you stay on the serial console and it tells you this here. Unfortunately, the content still disappears, but if you would be logged in, you would stay logged in, of course. I think, not sure to be honest. Okay, that was the first. Then on the graphical console, a lot of stuff now happens here in the footer below in the actual console display. The launch viewer button is here. That used to be in the separate desktop console kind of thing where it explains everything about how to get this to work. Now we have it here on the bottom, and all the rest also has been moved here in this into this kebab menu. I think kebab menus want to be on the right. That's why I put it here, not on the left. We had the launch viewer button in the design, it was on the right. And of course, we can change that however we think it's best. But now here's the big menu that has the keys in it. It has the disconnect button in it. And also it has now an edit VNC settings button. This one brings up this dialog. And now it warns you that because the machine is running, you will have to shut it down for these things to take effect, blah, blah. Let's not change anything now. And then there's also this thing here, which contains a pop-up with all the long-winded explanation of what you need to do to get this launch viewer button to actually do something, maybe. And this could be longer. We could talk about firewalls and listening ports, or maybe we don't want to. And so I think this button is, I think it's necessary because our own graphical console is not super good, but of course we will try to improve it. And you can launch a better native application. And I think we should make that part of the whole Cockpit story and not say that this graphical console here now is sufficient to replace the Word Manager. We need something better than this to fully replace Word Manager. Anyway, So you get a download here, and then you can't see that now. I have to type in the password, and I get a word viewer here because I've taken care of all my network setup already. Okay, but we can get this back here. So I think this is the maybe the most common thing that people will interact with. A fully configured machine. And but let's now explore different configurations. Machines without VNC and machines with SPICE and these things. So I'll shut it down and we'll do the command line magic to give us a machine that, let's say, doesn't have anything. Except the serial console. So now it says graphical console not supported. You can add the support here. This is also old stuff. Let's not do it. Let's say we are unaware of this and we run this machine now. And then you still get a graphical console tab here, but this one is now telling you pretty clearly that graphical support is not enabled, and you get this button again to add it. And this is the same dialog. And we use all the defaults now. And then it changes to something that looks like the shut-off version of this console, and that is because we have pending changes. So I guess we can use the same styling here as well. And you have to shut it down and start it again. And then you get the graphical console. So we do that, shut down, start, and here's the console. Yeah. And some people are using SPICE. And I guess we want them to use VNC instead, but maybe they have their reasons or they don't want to change. And let's explore that also a bit. So now we have a console that is not running and it doesn't have VNC, but it has SPICE. And I put this text here to try to say that, yeah, there's a graphical console that you could use maybe with a remote viewer, but you cannot use it here in Cockpit itself. And now here's the button to convert it to VNC. This is our old functionality that we have added to Cockpit to get rid of SPICE, because SPICE is not supported everywhere. And before upgrading to some RHEL version that doesn't support SPICE, you need to replace it in all your existing virtual machines, because otherwise after the upgrade you can't start them anymore. So, and I've added this text here now to this dialog to tell people, yeah, you might also do this just to get a graphical console here. And let's not do it now. Let's run the machine and see how that looks. As expected, you get the graphical console, but this time you have the launch view and how to connect things here, because these work now. SPICE is running. We just can't show it here. So how to connect will still tell you the same things, but now there is the URL here has been changed to SPICE and the port for SPICE. And the launch viewer button is also active. If I click on this, I get in immediately because it doesn't have a password. And yeah, so that also works. I think we don't want to spend too much time on SPICE, so there will probably not be any edit or adding dialogues for configuring it, or adding SPICE to a machine that doesn't have it. We want to concentrate on VNC. So, and with VNC, the most pressing next thing would probably be to support encryption so that you get a TLS connection. And then we can think about actually allowing people or adding support to Cockpit so that people can configure the system so that remote access to the VNC consoles is easy. Because you shouldn't do that without encryption, really, without TLS. But there's some work to be done. before Cockpit can configure the TLS for VNC. Yeah, so was that a lot or wasn't it? I'm not sure. I think that's it. Let's just do the shutdown and restart to see that now we have the console again. We can see Alpine booting here. Yeah, so this is mostly about moving stuff around, and this thing probably needs some extra review and some polishing. And okay, I haven't pointed that out. Here's now the URL. Here's now with VNC, and this works, for example, with the GNOME Connections remote viewer. The GNOME Connections doesn't support SPICE, so I didn't want to mention it here, but we can mention it for VNC. And there's also no mention of the QEMU SSH tunneling that is possible. But I think I want to first get the encryption going. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.